this is Sara with Posh Pooch Designs, and this is Rosie Bell. She's modeling our new Poppy dog collar, and I'm showing you that you can make it into a headband for you, so you can have a matched set. Now this is a new free pattern on my blog, and you can find that blog link down in the notes underneath the video. Thank you, Rosie. What you're going to need to make either the headband or the dog collar is you're going to need 2 colors of worsted weight number 4 yarn. This is Red Heart with Love in like a lime green and a little bit of a teal blue. I don't have the wrappers anymore, but this is Red Heart with Love. Works great. You can use Red Heart Super Saver. You can use Hobby Lobby's. I love this yarn. You can use any yarn that is worsted weight number 4. You're also going to need some pony beads, and these pony beads are the smaller ones. Now there's a regular size and a mini. You can use the regular size if you want to. I just really prefer the mini ones for this project. And you're going to need 3 beads for each flower. And of course, the beads are of your color of choice, whatever you think goes well with the yarn that you chose. You're also going to need an H hook, and our H hook is a 5mm. You're going to need a needle with an eye that's big enough to weave in your ends and sew on your pony beads. It makes sure you can get that eye of the needle through those pony beads. And the last thing you need, of course, is a pair of scissors. So gather up that supplies and we'll get started. We're going to begin stitching the band portion first. And you'll need to know your dog's neck measurements or the measurement for the head that you're going to make the headband for. 2 rows of the half double crochet equal about 1 inch. So you'll stitch 2 rows per inch. If Maximo's neck or Rosie's neck, whoever's going to wear this one, is 9 inches, I'll need to do 18 rows. 2 times 9 is 18. And then I'll do 2 additional rows for comfort. Because the way this is we stitch all the rows. We're going to add the poppies on, and then we'll stitch it closed, and it will slide right on their head, right over their existing collar, because this is a decorative collar. Same thing with your headband. We'll close it up after we get the poppies on, and then you'll be able to just slip it on and off your head. The first thing that we need to do, of course, is to make a slip knot. And then we're going to chain 8 chains. Now, if you are a tight crocheter, I really recommend that you loosen up a little bit on this initial chain, because we're going to be putting those 2 ends together and sewing them together with slip stitches, and we don't want this row to be puckered up. We want it to fit together nicely. So I've got my 8 chains, and we're going to begin stitching half double crochets in the second chain from the hook. So here's our first chain. We're going to go in this next chain to stitch our half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, we're going to go in that chain, almost said stitch, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and go through those 3 loops. And we'll do this all the way across for 7 half double crochets. And that's because we skipped that first chain. So yarn over, go in that next chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through all 3 of those loops. Yarn over. There we go. And we'll make 1 half double crochet in each of those 7 chains. So there's our 7 chains. Now we're going to chain 4. We're going to turn our work and we'll slip stitch in that first half double crochet. And if you're not sure what a slip stitch is, you're going to go in that stitch, pull a loop through. You'll have 2 loops on your hook. Pull that loop that you just pulled through the loop that's already on your hook. That's a slip stitch. And that's going to make that little picot stitch that's going to be at the end of each row. Then we're going to half double crochet right in that same stitch. And then we'll half double crochet in the last 6 stitches. This way we'll still have 7 half double crochets with that picot stitch on the end. Okay, so we stitched our 7, and now we're going to chain 4 again. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Turn your work and do the same thing. We're going to slip stitch in that first half double crochet, and then we'll half double crochet in that same stitch and in each stitch across. Here's our picot, or picot, however you want to say that. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 stitches, half double crochets, and we'll do that again. We'll chain 4, turn our work, slip stitch in that first stitch, and then half double crochet in that first. Oops, almost did a double crochet. There we go. And now we're going to half double crochet in each stitch across. Now chain 4 again. And I'll turn, slip stitch, then half double crochet in that first stitch. 1, 2, there we go. Go ahead and chain 4. And this is the way that the headband will work. I'm going to grab this other one real quick. Now this is the dog collar, of course, and it's stitched exactly the same. We've got our picot stitches on the edges with our half double crochet rows. And you'll stitch as many rows as needed. Now for the dog collar, I did 18 rows, actually 20 rows. Rosie's neck measured 9 inches. I added an inch for comfort for sliding it off and on, so that would make 10 inches. So I did 20 rows because 2 rows equal 1 inch. I'm going to make this one into a headband, and my head measures approximately 20 inches. So I'm going to need to do 40 rows because my head is 20. I want to do times 2. With the headband, just remember it's very stretchy, and if you make it too big, it might slide off your head, so keep that in mind. But approximately 2 rows of half double crochet equal 1 inch. So I'm going to continue to make my headband, and then I'll show you how to make the poppies with the beads and how to sew your headband together. So we're going to continue with our picot stitch and 1 half double crochet across for as many rows as needed for your project, whether you're making a dog collar or a headband for yourself. I stitched as many rows as I need for my headband. I finished that last row. I went ahead and did the peacock stitch on the end of that row, but I'm not going to stitch another row. And I'm not going to cut my yarn. I'm just going to make a nice big loop so that it doesn't come out, and I'm going to leave my yarn attached. That way, after I attach my poppies, I can put the two ends together and just stitch them closed. So I'm going to set this one aside, and I'm going to show you how to make the poppies. I'm going to use this blue, and I've chosen to use these 3 beads, a kind of a yellowy green, a teal, and a white for the beads in the center of my poppy. Let me set those aside out of the way so I don't knock them off my table. To make the poppy, again, we're going to begin with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 3. We're going to place 6 single crochets in the second chain from the hook. There's the first. We're going to go in the second. Put your hook in, pull up a loop, yarn over, and go through both those loops on your hook. There's 1, 2, 2 more, alright, so we're just going to move that string aside, and we're going to join with the slip stitch to the first single crochet. So we'll put our hook through, pull that loop through, and then pull that loop through the loop that's already on our hook. And then we're going to chain 3. Alright, so now we're going to make 3 petals. Here's our chain 3. We're going to go in the next stitch and stitch 2 double crochets. So we went in and pulled the loop up, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. And we're going to make another double crochet in that same single crochet. So we have a chain 3 and then 2 double crochets in the next stitch. We're going to chain 3 and we're going to slip stitch in the next single crochet. 1 petal made. So now we're going to chain 3 and we're going to place 2 double crochets in the next single crochet. 1, 2, and then chain 3. We stitched chain 3, then 2 double crochets in the next single crochet, chain 3, and we're going to slip stitch in the next single crochet. There we go. 2 petals made. Now we're going to chain 3 again, 2 double crochets in the next single crochet, 1 and 2, and chain 3, and we'll slip stitch in the next single crochet, and then we'll join to that first single crochet that we made. There's our 3 petals. We're going to cut our yarn, leaving ourselves a little bit of tail, about 12 inches, and that's for sewing on to our headband, our dog collar. So we'll go ahead and tie that off. Sometimes when making a flower, you'll end up with a hole in the center. So what you need to do is turn your flower over, thread that tail of yarn that you started with, you can see where that little hole is, and we're just going to go around those stitches from our initial single crochet row that we did, and Go around those stitches and pull that in gently and close that hole, because we don't want a hole in the center of our poppy. Alright, so I'm just going to tie that off with a couple of stitches. Go the other way. Alright, and then I'm going to cut that string. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is we need to add our beads. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to thread that yarn that we cut off onto our needle, and we're going to go underneath our poppy just like that, so that it's on the side but it's on the top. Okay, then we're going to take our 3 beads, and you can put them on however you want, of course. It's your color choices. We're going to just push those down, and we're going to go right across the poppy. So that those are nice in the center. And I'm going to come right back up on the other side where I first started. And I'm going to go right through those beads again. And then go right down. Again, so those beads are like right in the center. Turn it over. I'm just going to make a stitch or two just so I know those beads aren't going anywhere. And now I can sew this poppy right on to my headband. I've already made and sewed on 2 poppies, and I'm going to show you how to sew on this 3rd one. For the headband, I'm only putting 3 poppies. So here is my yarn. I'm going to go right underneath the headband. Whoops, there it is. Almost dropped my needle. And I'm going to come right up in the center of the headband. Now I don't sew the petals down because I want them to stick up a little bit. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go right in the center underneath those beads. And just around that edge of that circle, stitching in just like that, so that I'm comfortable that that poppy is going to stay put. And you can do it as many times as you want. I usually just do it until my yarn's gone. Just going around, making stitches. You see those petals need to stick up. All right. Well, I just have a little bit left, so I want to have enough to be able to weave in on the back. Just make sure that that poppy is not going to come off. Now, I like to put the poppies on before I close the collar or headband, because it makes it just a little bit easier to sew them on if you're not having to fight with, you know, trying to sew them in here and stuff with this already closed. So that's why I do it that way. All right, so I got my 3 poppies on. Pop up my petals. And I really like that. I think it's really pretty. And now it's time to close up our headband. So this is the front, so we're going to put the 2 ends together like this. And I like to turn it so my loop's on this side since I'm right-handed. And this is why I didn't want you to stitch that initial chain too tight, because I didn't want it to pucker up on you. Alright, so we're going to go right in that first half double crochet in that first chain. We're going to pull it through and stitch a slip stitch. Not slip a slip stitch. Stitch slip stitches going through both thicknesses of the headband. And you should have 7 because we have 7 stitches. And remember, you're going to have a picot stitch on that one end, so don't stitch in your picot stitch. All right. So we stitch that end together. Oops. There we go. We're going to tie that off, and we'll weave that in with our scissors. We have 2 ends there to weave in. I'm going to put just a little quick knot just to get them out of the way so that you can see the headband, and then I'll weave those in. All right, so let's flip it over, and there's our headband with 3 poppies, and here's our little dog collar. So you can make you a set to match your dog, or you can make them for your little girl or your kids to match their puppies as well. It's a lot of fun. It's super easy. And if you're worried about beads, you don't have to add the beads. They were just a fun little touch. It is very important, especially with puppies and dogs, that you make sure those beads are on there nice and tight and they're not within reach of their little teeth or toenails. So this is our poppy, dog collar, and headband.